Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode here on the Boys Play Minecraft modded modpack server. Today we are going to go through the process of creating some Tinker's tools. So if you remember, back in the very first episode we made this Tinker's Construct smeltery, and I said that I would go about the process of making some tools later on. I've actually made some tools already just to play around with, but I'm not a huge fan of how these turned out, so I'm actually going to go ahead and dump them. And we're going to go through the process of starting from scratch. So the very first thing that you are going to need is the Materials and You book. And we're going to go ahead and right click it to open it up. So we used this book before to make the smeltery so that we could see what the smeltery would look like. We're going to now use it to talk about the different kinds of tools that there are, the different materials and modifiers. So first off, tools. These are all of the tools that we have to choose from, starting from pickaxe, shovel, hatchet, and so on. We're actually going to be making a few different tools for different purposes. Our first tool is going to be just a classic pickaxe. That pickaxe is going to be for mining very precise blocks. We're also going to be making this tool right here, the mattock. So rather than having a shovel and a hatchet, you can put together a shovel head with an axe blade and be able to chop down trees and dig dirt with one tool. You can also use it as a hoe so that you don't need another item just for tilling dirt. The next tool we're going to make is going to be the hammer. The hammer is great for mining through a 3x3 area. It's just a great way of getting rid of a lot of material very quickly. The excavator is like that, but for a shovel. I typically don't need something like that, so I'm not going to worry about the excavator. The lumber axe is like a regular axe, but it will fell the whole tree in one action. This would have been great if we did not have ore excavation in this mine pack, but since we have ore excavation, we don't really need it. Continuing on, we've got the different kinds of swords. So there's the broadsword. This is pretty much the classic Minecraft sword, just with Tinker's Construct. The longsword is a little bit different. You've got a right-click action, which is the lunge. And then we've got the rapier, which is right-click will backpedal, so you can jump backwards. It will also pierce through armor. It tends to have a lower damage output, though. There is the battle sign, which I've never used, so I'm not going to even worry about that. The frying pan, which I've never used. And then the cleaver, which is a weapon used for beheading. So a cleaver is really great when you're hunting wither skeletons. And then we get into the ranged weapons, and I'll talk about the ranged weapons in a little bit. So the tools that I'm going to make to start with are going to be the pickaxe, the mattock, the hammer, and then I think I'm going to go with one of these two swords. I haven't made up my mind just yet, but I'm going to go with one of those swords. So you'll see that as we're looking at these, it shows you what pieces and parts you need. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell on here, so instead we're going to look at the tool forge. The tool forge has a pattern for each kind of tool, and it says down here exactly which components we need. And this is very useful because it's hard to tell in the book the difference between a tough tool rod and a tool rod. So we're going to need for our pickaxe a tool rod, a pickaxe head, and binding. For the mattock, we're going to need an axe head, shovel head, and tool rod. For the shovel, we will need a tough tool rod, hammerhead, and 2 large plates. And then for the swords, we need almost the same thing, except the only difference is the kind of guard that we would use. So I'm going to go ahead and actually, before I do that, materials. So depending on the materials you choose to make your items out of will give you different properties. So every different material in this book has properties for the head, and it shows you here the different kinds of heads that qualify. An extra piece, so this is usually the binding, or it could be a tool rod, or it could be a plate, and then the handle, and they will give you different abilities. So for instance, my pickaxe, I want it to be able to mine really quick. So what I'm going to use is cobalt because it has the highest mining speed. Its durability is 780, its base durability, and it has this ability momentum, which means as we mine, it's going to get faster and faster and faster. The abilities are different depending on the kind of part that you're going to make. So for cobalt, if we have cobalt handle and cobalt head, we're going to get faster and we're going to be very fast. Other parts, other materials can give you different bonuses. So for instance, if I wanted to auto smelt, I could use firewood. It's not too useful to me because I have an ore doubling system, so I can actually get double the ore if I don't auto smelt. Paper is a really interesting one. It has the ability of writable. I typically like using paper for my extra because writable allows you to add more modifiers, which can again give you extra abilities on your tool. So I believe for my tools, I'm going to be using a lot of cobalt so that they get really quick. For my weapons, I'm going to be using probably some manulin because it has the highest, or one of the highest, base attack values. If I flip through here, it was 8 point something. Intermedium is higher. Superium and Supremium are even higher, but these are really hard materials to make. So I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and make all of my pieces and parts off camera, and then I'll get back to you and show you how to put them together. And I'm back. So I've put a little bit of time into getting these materials together, and in order to put them all together, all we need to do is use the tool forge, select the kind of tool that we're making, and I'm just going to shift click the materials in. I decided to go with copper for my tool rod because it has the ability of well established. And if I go back into the book, I can look at my materials, pick copper. Well established means that I gain additional experience. So every time I mine a block using something with copper in it, it's going to give me extra experience. So I decided that would be a useful way of gaining XP as I go through all of my mining. And I'm sticking with cobalt. For the binding, however, I decided to go with paper. It does negatively impact my durability, but it does allow me to have writable, which gives me extra modifiers, so I can add even more stuff to this pickaxe. And that's the really big bonus of doing things with Tinker's Construct. So I've got my axe head, shovel head, and copper tool rod. I get my cobalt matic, and then I decided to go with again copper to give me well established, and then I went with all cobalt to give me as fast of a hammer as possible. Unfortunately, hammers are going to be slow. This has a mining speed of 4.8 as opposed to 12, but that's just what we got to deal with. As far as the sword, I decided to go with the longsword. I might switch this up later on. I'm using a bone tool rod to give me fractured, which will deal extra damage. I've got the paper handguard for writable, and then I've got a manulin sword blade. And those are all of my weapons. The great thing about Tinker's Construct is you'll notice in green it says that my level is clumsy and that my items have 0 experience. As you go throughout the world, you will level up your items. You can see here this matic I've been using for a while. It's got a ton of experience in it. It's adept. As you go, every level you get an extra modifier. And that's the real big game changer with Tinker's Constructs. You cannot use enchantments, but you can use modifiers, and these are all of the modifiers that you can do. Instead of having efficiency, for instance, you can just add redstone to your weapon and it will give you haste. Luck is just like fortune or looting, depending on if it's on a tool or a weapon. Luck is done with lapis. Sharpness, you can increase the sharpness of your weapon with, what is it? Quartz. There we go. You can also increase your durability with diamond. It will also upgrade some stats. The emerald will also increase your base durability. And so these two together can mitigate the effect of using paper inside of your tool. Fortified, I've never used this one. Yeah, I've never used fortified. Not going to worry about it. Silk touch you can get by using a silky jewel. Reinforced, I use this a lot. As you reinforce it more and more, you will actually make it unbreakable. So there is, if you look here, I've got reinforced 4. If I were to add one more reinforcements on there, and actually I can do that right now and show you guys. This is a reinforcement. It's made with obsidian and a cast. Usually I just make a blank cast by pouring gold into there. And all I have to do is put my weapon in, toss the reinforcement in there, and now it's unbreakable. So no matter what, my durability will not go down for the Electrum crossbow. Now, like I said, I'm not going to keep using that. I'm going to be using my my new items. Where was I? So reinforced. There's also beheading. You can add beheading to your weapon, which increases the level, or increases the chance of cutting off a mob's head, which is great for wither skeleton hunting. Smite is just like the smite enchantment, same with Bane of Arthropods. Fiery is like fire aspect. Necrotic is interesting. As you deal damage, you will heal yourself, which is useful. Knockback. Soulbound is another great modifier to add. When you die, it stays with you, so it's kind of like having keep inventory on. So it's a really great way to make sure that you don't lose your stuff. It really sucks when you die and you've got to get back to where you were and you don't have any of your useful tools with you. You can increase the AoE of your weapon. I've never done either of these, or not your weapon, your tool. You can add mending. I've experimented with mending moss before. I haven't been too excited by it. It doesn't really seem to work as effectively as the mending enchantment does. Blasting, I've never worried about. Neither of these. Mostly what I work on is making sure that it's as durable as it can be. It's got luck on it. It's got sharpness. It's got haste. Like my tools, I really want my tools to have haste. I really want everything to have luck so I can get a lot of drops. I really want my weapons to have sharpness. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out some modifiers to use, because if I go ahead and look in here, oh, I don't need that anymore. If I go ahead and look at my new items, there they all are. This one has 4 modifiers, 3 modifiers, and 3. So I can already put some modifiers on here to make them a little bit more powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out which modifiers to do, and I'll be right back with you, and I'll show you guys how to put on those modifiers. And we are back. So I've got some materials here. Now I'm going to go ahead and toss on my weapon. So first off, with my longsword, I want this to be durable. So shiny increases the durability. If I look here, right now it's got a durability of 1000. When it comes out, it will have a durability of 1500. Right now it's got an attack of 2.79, and when it comes out, it will have an attack of 3.89. So I'll go ahead and do that. the next one I want to do is I want to make it sharp. So one modifier will make it sharp, and I can actually increase the sharpness level. So it will go from 13.89 up to 15.94. Now I can do another sharp and bring it up to sharper. Essentially, this is like sharpness 2. So it will bring that attack from 1594 up to 1774. And I'm going to do one last, and I might check to see what an emerald would do. So it does not change its attack, but it does greatly increase the durability. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one. Now, as I go, I can increase the sharpness by leveling the longsword up, but I'm going to start with that for now. Now, my cobalt pickaxe, I'm going to start off with Silk Touch, just because it's always nice to have a Silk Touch pickaxe. Now, because I've got Silk Touch on there, I'm not going to need to put Luck on there. So instead, I'm going to toss a diamond on there. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to put redstone on there. Redstone increases the mining speed, so I'm going to give it haste. Now it's got haste. I can give it haster, which is haste 2 or efficiency 2. And I'm going to do one more. So that should be, yeah, that's all of my modifiers. And now my mining speed, I believe, started off as 12, and now it's almost doubled. I'm going to do the same for this hammer. I'm just going to give it haste right now, because the hammer is a relatively slow item. So I want to make sure that I can use it as quickly as possible. Yeah, I've got my mining speed all the way up to 9.4 right now. And 9.9. Okay, I don't know why it's allowing me to keep doing this. That seems to be a little bit of a glitch. Now for my Matic, I'm going to go ahead and do the same. I'm just going to put haste on it and use up all my modifiers on haste. That way it'll be really quick. So let's go ahead and head down into the... Actually, let's head over here and let's just play around with the Matic real quick to see how fast it actually is. I'm sure that was kind of laggy for you guys. So it's not quite instant mine, but it's actually a lot quicker than my old Matic was. So that's a pretty good mining speed. Now let's go into my little mine down here. Oof, I missed. Let's go down into the little mine here, and let's just play around with the hammer. Oh, that's really quick. My old hammer was nowhere near that quick. Okay, this could be faster, I feel. But that being said, it's not too slow, and it is a nice Silk Touch pickaxe. We might be able to add more haste to it. I can't remember. But anyways, so I think that's about it for Tinker's Construct. There's a lot more that could be done with Tinker's. And maybe I'll do some more episodes about other modifiers, but I think this was a pretty good start to just get some new items to increase my effective damage and to increase my speed. Actually, when I went into the Nether just now, my pickaxe was so fast that I managed to create a whole bunch of ghost blocks. So normally I wouldn't have that many ghost blocks to worry about, but this was just so quick it chewed through that netherrack. But anyways, I hope that this episode was useful and helped you get started with Tinker's Construct. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments area below.